Hello, hello my friends. It is wonderful to be with you. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're safe and well. I'm just going to turn my volume up a bit because apparently I'm a little bit quiet at times. Hard to believe, I know, but anyway, it's wonderful to be with you. Thank you for joining me. I'm Dr. Rebecca, the Life Joy Coach and author, and I help you transform the burnt out areas of your life into balance and then blessings, so you can be more confident, more capable, more content, more joyous, and lead a richer life. So ultimately, my goal in books or one-to-one coaching or trainings is always to help you see your own worth, cherish it, protect it, share it, and let your light shine a little bit brighter. Very, very much brighter if possible. So if you're just joining us, please say hello. Sometimes the comments are a bit funny and they don't come up, but they should come up. So very, very warm welcome to the Sunshine Study. The puppy is next door and she's being very quiet, so I'm hoping she will continue to behave well. I don't know if I've got much puppy destruction news to tell you. Fingers crossed there hasn't been too much, but often I've said that in the past and then we have a £300 bill from her. So keep your fingers crossed. We have reached a certain point. She's 14 months now, and we have made quite a lot of progress this last couple of weeks with the no and making her drop things, because she is an enormous kleptomaniac and she loves to retrieve things and bring them to us or not let them go. Oh, my goodness, Alison, it's wonderful to have you. I am bringing you on. I have a very special guest for you, my friends. I try and bring you in. Accomplished a lot in the challenges, and I cannot wait to share our guest with you. We're just hoping the tech will work and she will be able to join us. And it's just saying she's coming. 1 minute and she's there. I think she's coming. Oh, my darling. Welcome.
Hello.
It's wonderful to see you. Everybody, this is Alison Beveridge. I am thrilled to share her joy and accomplishment and delight with you all. Hello, my love.
Good afternoon. It's good to see you.
Lovely to see you. Now, tell us about what you've been up to, because it's quite remarkable.
Okay. So yesterday, my debut novel went live on Kindle, and the physical copies have arrived as well. So it's very surreal, but I've got it in my hand. Yeah.
And there is something really very magical, I feel, about the arrival of your first book.
Yes, it still doesn't seem real. It doesn't. There's 50 copies sitting here, but yeah, doesn't seem real. And people have started reading it and sending me messages, which is very touching. So yeah, it's been quite exciting, really, to just the start of it, I think.
Lovely, absolutely. Well, the other thing that isn't surreal is the amount of work that goes into it. I think a lot of people see the outcome of a lot of hard work in life, and they don't see all the quiet hours of absolute slog and devotion to doing something well. And you are a very hard worker.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Oh, you are perhaps too hard a worker. There's a compliment backwards.
Yes, I am getting better at not working too hard, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And maybe everybody in here, we're all like that a bit. That's why we're all here.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a bit about you, Alison, and then we're going to talk about the book.
Yeah, so I am a bit of an experienced junkie. I like to try new things. My career is not a 9 till 5 and never has been. So last year I sold my first business, which was a children's theatre school, been running for 8 years. It was a franchise. So after I finished my master's at drama school in London, I moved back to the Northeast, bought the franchise, and then grew it from scratch. So I learned a lot through that, definitely. And then since then, lots of different projects. So I've worked as a regional manager for Compassion UK, which is a charity that aims to, help children in poverty through sponsorship. I currently work part-time for Artisan Travel, which is a boutique travel company, specialising in holidays to Scandinavia in the winter months, and then places like Croatia, Portugal during the summer. Lots of activity based holidays, and they are sending me on my first trip in a couple of weeks to Sweden, which I'm very excited about. Although I am a warm weather girl, so I'm gonna have to borrow some of my mum's skiing things, I think, because I'm not equipped for those cold climates. That'll be exciting. And my week, yeah, is very varied. Sometimes I work as a tour guide for AAA food tours, which is a fantastic experience. If you haven't done it yet, there's about 5 or 6 different tours, some in Newcastle, some in Eastbourne, in Durham as well. And we take our guests around the city, tell them a bit about the history, the culture, the food scene, and we visit a number of different eateries and restaurants and bars along the way. It's always great to meet new people. It does not feel like work at all, definitely not. Also volunteer for a charity called Safe Families. So at the moment I'm supporting a young man, just building his confidence and getting him out and about. So supporting him there. And I also tutor 3 students a week in maths and English. So we're all different ages. So yeah, I've been doing that since I was about 18, really. It's very rewarding, and it's good because it's quite flexible to fit in with my kind of ad hoc nomadic lifestyle that I lead.
Yeah, but when you say it's ad hoc and it's nomadic, what it really is an example of somebody fulfilling their potential, and that you stretched your wings out and tried these different things and flourished in them. But also that very example liberates other people. I always think it's very impressive to be, if you're clever and capable and well enough to do things, it's a gift in life. But to just stretch and see and try and embrace that, I think there's something really lovely about that.
Yeah, well, thank you. I've always been one for trying new things, and even like when I was at school trying to pick my GCSEs, I was like, but I want to do every subject. So yeah, it's always been a struggle to kind of narrow it down. I definitely couldn't sit at a desk 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. I admire people who can, but that's just not me. I like to kind of experience all of the different colours of the world, and sounds a bit like Pocahontas song, but you know what I mean. Just experience what the world has to offer, really.
Yes, well, that's so lovely. Now, your book is another part of your portfolio of potential actualized. There's a lovely sentence, isn't there? And tell us about your book and show it to us again.
Yeah. Here it is.
And just keep holding it. That's lovely.
So my book is based on my experience of living with an eating disorder. So I was diagnosed in 2014, and didn't realise I had an eating disorder. I went to the doctors because of a different issue, and then it came to light that actually the reason behind that issue was that I was restricting myself and not getting the nutrition that I needed. I was over-exercising, etc., whilst still kind of being very high functioning and doing all these things that I do. So I used to go to a day centre. I agreed to 1 day a week. And a lot of the other people that were there would just sit and watch daytime TV, and that is not me. So I used to take my laptop. I used to do all of my admin for the drama school, in between having sessions with OTs and people like that. Did some art therapy. That was really good. And I think it was kind of the shortest time that I ever had someone there, because I was so determined not to let this kind of, reign my life. So I started writing things down, and then kind of started creating a story, and much to probably many writers' horror, I didn't really have the full book planned out.
That doesn't matter.
And then kind of, got going along the way. And then when COVID hit, I was like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity, because it had been sat in a drawer for quite a while. Because I had to kind of feel like I was able to sit down and sit with it. But if I was having like quite a bad day, there was no chance that I would be able to kind of productively and positively write about it. So the main character is based on myself, and then the other characters are loosely based on some people I know, let's say. I have a disclaimer in there to everybody that they are very loosely based on some people I know. fragments of different people pulled together and sensationalized for, entertainment value. So yeah, and then I think I finished it about last January, and then since then I've been going through the process of redrafting, re-editing, designing the book cover, and having lots of really helpful sessions with people like yourself and the editor, etc., to really materialize it. So I've got this far, so yeah, has to come into some people's hands now, I think, and just my hope for it is that it'll really bring some insight to people who have no idea about eating disorders. I volunteered for a time for Beat, which is an eating disorder charity, on their web chat, and replying to users and kind of helping them and supporting them and just listening to them, really. And I've mentioned it at the end of the book because they have some fantastic resources available if you feel you are suffering yourself or you know of someone who is. But yeah, my hope is that it'll bring some insight into kind of what it's like from a personal perspective rather than a medical, and might change some perceptions. But then also for people who are experiencing an eating disorder, to know that they're not alone. There is hope, and that they are precious and that they are worthy and that they have something to offer the world. And as hard as it is, trust me, it is worth fighting against and reclaiming your life and showing the world what you've got to offer.
Yes, because I've said this last time, your playing small doesn't serve the world. That's Marianne Williamson's beautiful poem. And for me, when I had no doubt that you'd succeed. I hope that was obvious. But for some people don't realise that hour after hour, turn up day after day, do the work. There will be an outcome from that. Outcomes don't magically happen without great diligence. But also the process of refining is as demanding often as the actual writing the prose. But tell us about the cover, because there's symbolism in that, but also there's bits in this book that will make you look at the world differently. And if you just understand an inch of what somebody else is suffering, wherever that may be, you are better for it, and they are blessed to have your knowledge. So this would help not only people who've got problems with food, but also people around them to perhaps know how to manage their conversations together, really. And I think that's, sometimes we need to know the wise things to say so we don't put our foot in it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. And also eating disorder is so sneaky, like you might not even know someone you're talking to is suffering because perhaps they're not, 6 stone. Like the physical signs might not be there, or there are some signs in the book that I've talked about, for example, cold hands, things like that. So when I was teaching drama, often like we'd hold hands in a circle pre-COVID, and the kids would go, "Oh, Miss, your hands are freezing," and that is, one of the symptoms or one of the kind of side effects of having an eating disorder, or it certainly was for me, because obviously everybody is different and it can affect everybody in different ways. Just things like that, and how that it still impacts me now. I can't find any gloves that'll keep my hands warm when I go out for walks. So things like that, just kind of an ongoing mark on my life, really. So yeah, I can't remember what the question was now.
It was about finding
the symbols in the cover. Yes,
the symbol. And also, if you tell us about the cover, because the layers in this book are very precious, but it's also witty, and you learn. Something that I really loved was, obviously I love good teachers, and we all come from families of teachers, and we know how hard they work, the good ones. And the layers of her life, which she's always marking the books. She's always, or her lesson plans, or she's bothered about the kids, and the relationships within that staff room are quite entertaining when you've been in one. But also actually what she eats, and her, in some ways, her lack of self-love in all of this. You just want her to see her goodness and that she's worthy of care.
Yes, yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, I grew up in a household of teachers. There was books everywhere. I'd often ask if I could stamp them all. I thought that was great.
Yes, me too.
B says, well done. So yeah, I've got kind of that knowledge and experience of what it is like. Is don't just, leave the classroom at 3:30. And kind of it's just so exhausting to have a normal job whilst also this kind of
Going on.
other side going on as well. But yeah, and the symbol of the cover, so I'll show a picture there.
Oh, isn't that stunning? Can we just say that we had Sarah Clark's help and we had Lucinda Reid, who were just stunning.
Yes, amazing. So I had the picture and then Sarah kind of found the image that was in my head. I wanted a bird in a cage, but with the cage door open, because she's trapped. However, there is a way out, and the bird's holding the key because it is up to the sufferer, to release themselves. Really, you can have all the support in the world, all of the resources, all of the love and family around you, but if you don't take control and make that decision, and probably have to make that decision more than once because it is not a linear recovery.
Yes.
And you might come out the cage and then you might go back in again for a little bit, and then because there is safety and familiarity in that cage as well. So the bird is red because the main character is called Scarlet. Yes, so that's why I picked the red, and then the gold. I think that was your idea, Dr. Rebecca, actually.
I can take no credit.
You can take no, you take the credit. Yeah, just showing she's precious, and yeah. And I chose a hummingbird as well, rather than kind of just a small generic bird. Just for the symbolism there as well, because they're quite peaceful birds. And I wanted to be quite a graceful bird as well, because originally Sarah had come back to me with like a crow and it looked like she was in a graveyard, and I was like, no, she's more pretty and feminine than a crow. For me that symbolizes kind of death, and this is about a story of revival, really. So we went for the hummingbird instead, and Lucinda's done a great job of separating chapters now and again with the bird flying across, which I really love that design. So yeah.
And the title.
Yes.
Tell us about that. The layers of this are so profound, and also as somebody who has experience of huge numbers of problems with food and a whole trajectory of allergic reactions and not being able to eat enough, and how precious your health is. It is everything. All of life flows from a balanced body and a balanced mind. I feel, and I keep seeing this, and that when those things go awry, there are difficulties to manage, and there are so many people who can't get out of the difficulty, and sometimes the difficulty is so intractable that however hard you work or try, it's overwhelming. So to do all that you can do with what you've got really is, for me, a gift from God. And if you can get out of that cage, even just for a day trip or a weekend away, it's the symbol of, when I read it, I just blubbed in that. Yes. And I also saw things when she has tomato soup for a tea, a lot. And I thought, that's not a lot of meal for a day. I wanted to say, my treasure, come on, it's all right to have some carbs, good carbs. But the title says everything about all of that, doesn't it?
And yeah, just to point that out, I used to have half a tin of tomato soup for my meal with one slice of bread with very thinly scraped on and off butter. So that is, yeah, outlived. Myself and Ed, because the character, she's a bit of an observer of the world and she is quite isolated. However, instead of me, myself and Ed, so Ed is the eating disorder, but he's personified in the book. And I always see him as quite like a smarmy guy who is quite attractive, and there's something that really appeals about him, but actually he's manipulative, he's a parasite, he feeds on her, and without her he can't survive. But on the surface he's quite shiny and cool, and you know, every girl wants to date him, every guy wants to be him, that kind of you know, stereotype. Always makes me think of those relationships where they're terrible and all of the friends can see it and like, no, no, no. But she's like, no, but when it's just the two of us, you know, he's different and he's loving and he's caring and he, you know, he really thinks about me all of the time. But he's like that with every victim that he preys on. So so that is Ed.
Yes, and one of the things that within the text is that you see how pernicious that inner bullying is, and how that's a battle to manage that perfectionism, and the aggression in it and the subtleties of it is about, in some ways, how we think about ourselves and how we talk to ourselves.
Yes, and the Scarlett will have conversations with Ed in the book, and then there's different points where sometimes she manages it, sometimes she quietens his voice, sometimes he's so loud and she can't focus on anything else. And again, those are based on my own experiences of sometimes having multiple conversations, one in real life with somebody else, one with Ed in my head, and having those simultaneously and still managing to function or even hide this illness from the world.
I think it's the business of what you manage to keep going through as well, because there's an awful lot of, we say high functioning a lot, don't we, about people's conditions, but by heavens, that's heroic effort to keep going amongst, you know, a big load on your shoulders. But also there's a level here of understanding that she was very harsh on herself, but she was also, her standards were so unassailable, weren't they? They were so demanding. And to me, it taught the issue of, it's beautiful in life to be a B+. You do not have to be an A triple star. Be content and happy and well, and cherish your good people.
Yes, yeah. Because it's funny saying B+. Obviously, I remember what I got for my GCSEs and my A levels and my degrees, but nobody else does. Nobody asks, you know, what did you get for your masters, or what did you get for your GCSE math, you know? So yes, that is a really important point to make. But perfectionism and high standards are definitely a common trait, I think, of people who have experience with eating disorders, and they're just the prime people for Ed to feed on, really.
Yes, and I think as a society we've got really imbalanced about perceptions of what is wise to eat, what is wise in terms of weight, what is attractive and desirable, and that's very different from what's either sensible or wise at times. But also how we become seduced into valuing the aesthetic when we really need to value people's hearts, minds and souls, and delight in their humour and their courage and their wit, and whether they've got, you know, Susan's with us. Lovely to see you, Susan. Sorry, I've been so engrossed in our conversation, I'm missing the comments. But everybody who's joining us, Alison will tell us in a moment where her book is available from. But I wanted to say something else about your very last paragraph. Is absolutely beautiful. So if there were ever a sentence, I think that's the first thing I said to you about after I'd read it. I thought, the last line, don't tell anybody, make them buy it. But the last line, you see, I feel when you read a book, if it's a good book, you should be changed because of it. You should know more, you should feel more, and you should be expanded. And your last sentence, I thought, this is marvellous. Last sentence. So tell us where you can get it from.
Yes, so it's now available to buy on Kindle, and we're also setting up so that you can buy it at a physical copy. Like I say, I've got 50 copies. I've sold out 50, so I bought another 50, and I've been really enjoying sending them to people personally, and I've been writing messages in the front, signing it, 'cause you never know. But yeah, writing personal messages in it. I had one lady who contacted me, complete stranger, last week, and she's bought a copy. She has her own experiences, so she's been kind of sharing that with me, and I felt very humbled, felt a bit of a responsibility as well. So I wrote quite quite a message in the front of her book and send that off last week. And I was like, wow, like the impact that this potentially could have is great. Even if, you know, it impacts one person, even if the impact is marginal and it just changes one perception just a tiny little bit, then, you know, I'm happy and at peace with that. But yeah, obviously the more help it can do, the better.
That's the whole point, isn't it? Your light is shining, you've had difficulty, and look what you've done with it. And you're offering that onwards. And if it's one or it's 1,000, it's as powerful for the one as it is the 1,000. And I think also just huge congratulations and great luck with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's been a delight. So I will, in the bottom of the comments, if you could put people could message you for a copy, and the links will all be there. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Princess Alison Beveridge.
Thank you, Dr. Rebecca.
And also remember that the spirit of life, joy, is love, integrity, fortitude, energy, joy, order, and you. And whatever comes from that, we are blessed to have you. Remember that. I think that's the whole message of Alison's book, is that you have great worth. The world is better off with you. Look after yourself. So, my friends, I hope you have a lovely afternoon. If you're watching this on replay, thank you so much. We love it when you do that. And thank you, Alison, for joining us. Her comments will be linked down and you can find her book. So I hope you have a lovely afternoon. I hope you have a peaceful weekend, and I hope you have a calm week to come. Take care. God bless. Be safe. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Take care, my friends. Be safe.